Hey, this is my work conversation radio. I have not gone live on the platform for a long time, and I said, let me just try it out. Want to go live with some information that came to me earlier, but I was not able to go live at that time. But I'm going to be showing you some information in regards to what is happening right now. We see the MarkCarney going on rounds in regards to scaring people now about the automotive tariffs. Unfortunately, PierrePoilievre, I believe he, trusts the media and what's being said. And I think at this point in time, someone has to be on Poilievre's team, totally dedicated to fact checking anything the Canadian media is saying, because it's imperative that the federal conservatives believe without a shadow of a doubt that all media is right now against the federal conservative party. All media at this point is trying to assist the Liberal government, because I do not put it past the possibility that there has been a conversation that says, if you don't let us win, if you don't assist us to win, you're also going to be up the creek. The conservatives are going to be cutting a lot of these media outlets that's getting taxpayers' money, that has been in cahoots in distributing lies. So I believe, they say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I believe right now, just like we witnessed during the 2020, a concerted effort to lie. And we've seen it happen before, and it's happening again. So I really believe it's imperative that the Conservative Party have a dedicated person that is fact-checking anything, CBC, CDTV, anybody. Like, all media outlets right now are supposed to be seen as suspicious, period. And Poilievre, it's important that he has someone dedicated to fact-check anything, because I heard CBC now is going to get a fact-checker who's going to be fact-checking information going up to the election. It's imperative that Poilievre hire someone solely dedicated on fact-checking any information that is being stated that is from Trump. Because right now, Trump is the new boogeyman south of the border, just like the virus was our new boogeyman south of the border. And the media allowed it to come north of the border. And the division started with the Liberals. Justin Trudeau and the media allowed the narrative to pin people against each other right here at home. Fast forward, we're now hearing everything that was reported was totally stretched out of proportion, because now we have testimony. Testimony, not how the media like to laugh at our judicial system when it comes to independent inquiries. They downplay it like it's nothing big. But we have south of the border congressional testimony, Dr. Fauci, and all of these people that came, and it's now on record that it was exaggerated. All of the side effects that we all were warning you about, that they told us that we are crazy and it's totally safe. Now, Pfizer, Moderna, all of them are acknowledging it's on their websites. It's now in front of you, and it's exactly what we said. So I say all that to say, to set the premise that we have experienced and we've lived through the reality of media aligning itself with the Liberal Party to push a narrative onto the Canadian people. It is a rinse and repeat right now. So I'm going to show you something in regards to this auto tariff that Doug Ford, and it's very rich. I heard two reporters trying to bring the provincial conservative to the federal level. about grassroots, concerned about what PierrePoilievre is doing. I believe PierrePoilievre is vetting out Doug Ford's Trojans that are coming in as conservatives. It's so funny that particular journalist is talking about the grassroots conservatives are complaining about what the conservatives are doing. Where was that complaint when Doug Ford was the one selecting every candidate? And I did a podcast on that because I was supposed to be interviewed. Hours before my interview, I got an email, no explanation, that the PC party called my writing and told them not to interview me. I asked why, no explanation, no response, nothing, until somebody else told me the reason, and it was because Doug Ford did not want a real conservative inside. And Doug Ford controls all of the writing associations. The writing associations are not independent. They do not get to choose who their candidates are. That's why they're parachuted in and they're handpicked by Doug Ford. Doug Ford wants compliant people who will go in lockstep with him, just like what they did 4 years ago. He wants people who are compromisable, who will sacrifice their integrity for a paycheck. He is very concerned of bringing anybody who's a real conservative in. He wants someone who is progressively liberal, who wants to say they're conservative. That is his candidates. I didn't see, and I didn't hear any journalists saying anything about Doug Ford's campaign. And that would tell me that what? None of the conservative grassroots were concerned that Doug Ford is alienating true residents. You're going to tell me writing associations didn't get offended that they can't pick their own? So that tells me then the grassroots conservatives aren't grassroots then. Are you selectively uproaring when your Trojan horses that Doug Ford wants to send federally don't get in? And I hope that's the reason. I hope the federal conservatives are denying Doug Ford's Trojan horses from coming in. Because I know specifically here in my writing, Scarborough-Guildwood, I've already made it very clear in public, I am not supporting that candidate. He emailed me for support and I told him point blank. So I hope that is the reason why. Because Doug Ford's people, because this representative here at Scarborough-Guildwood, his entire resume on LinkedIn and everywhere else, he has been a Doug Ford insider. And Doug Ford is trying to position his conservative people, I believe one is out in Brooklyn and one is out in Pickering as well, who are Doug Ford loyalists, who are compromised individuals who say they're conservatives. He is positioning them to get into the federal party. I've warned the federal government, the federal conservatives, to start watching Doug Ford as a traitor he is. That's why he endorsed Carney. That is why he was supporting Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and speaking so highly and lovely of them. Look at all my videos. I show all the receipts and all the videos and all the comments from Doug Ford. He is not a real conservative. He's one of those people that's in a family and you're just there by osmosis, but really deep down you don't really go along or you agree with what the family is. But because it's a win-win for you, you pretend that you are part of what the family is about. That's Doug Ford. He's never been a conservative, only by name and by family origin, but in his heart, he is a liberal. He's a progressive liberal. He is not a true conservative. And the Liberal Party is not the classical Liberal Party. It has been hijacked. And it's hijacked by the same people south of the border that try to hijack the American government. And thank God real conservatives stood up. And thank God the Democrats within the Democratic Party, they also said, hold on a minute, you're gone too radical. And that is why Trump won. Because everybody stopped looking at party loyalty and start to see exactly where the country is going. And for some reason, that toxicity and that ideology has come north of the border. And no one north of the border is stopping to say, hold on a minute. Look at what Canada is. That is why Jagmeet Singh had Facebook lives and lives with that Democratic candidate down there, Bernie Sanders. I remember when Donald Trump won, Jagmeet Singh, that's why NDP is being slaughtered by their own demise. Jagmeet Singh sending out emails, gathering donations to protest the fact that Kamala lost. I'm like, we're Canada. How are you asking Canadians to come together to fight and to protest that Kamala Harris lost? NDP has been infiltrated a long time ago. They're no longer Canadian. It's like Tim Hortons. It's not Canadian. It's like MarkCarney's business. They're not Canadian. MarkCarney is giving you some cockamamie excuse about his offshores to benefit the Canadian people who are investing. And look who it is. Teachers. Look at our curriculum. American ideologies that Americans said no to. But Canada said, come on in. Look at who has aligned themselves to MarkCarney's portfolio. The same people who have been in lockstep to destroy our children's education. The same people who are in lockstep with the same ideology that was south of the border that came north to totally eradicate what Canada looks like. Our passport don't even have any symbolism. Maxime Bernier went on American podcast, Patrick Bet-David, and in my comments, if you go in and you see my comments in there, he couldn't even answer very basic questions about what it is to be Canadian. That out of all of the entire podcast, Patrick Bet-David asked him what it is to be Canadian. You should hear the answers that this man gave. I was like, this is why you're not even relevant, Maxime. The question is what it is to be Canadian. He goes, when you ask Americans what it is to be American, he gave an example. What is to be Canadian? Maxime spoke and Pat Bet-David said, I still don't know what it is to be Canadian. And he rattled off some nonsense, and all he used was his version of what it is to be Canada. And if you listen to what he said, it was all Quebec. Celine Dion. Like, I'm sorry, like we don't have any other Canadian icons. And then he talked about, I think it was Laurier, and then the hockey guy was a Quebec hockey. He listed Quebec only people, Francophone only people of what it is to be Canadian. He did not represent from one coast to the next. He listed only French-speaking people to the question of what it is to be Canadian. Maxime Bernier only listed Francophone icons. And I was just like, this is who's representing Canada. Fast forward, Justin Trudeau erased everything that was Canadian. Terry Fox is gone. Everybody else is gone. They are changing the face of Canada. Now you have the same government who did a dress change, who did a change of attire, who did a transformation. They did a drag queen switch. They dress up Carney as if he's completely a different identity than what it is Justin is, and it's the same people. But they've been doing dress up so well. They're experts of dressing up so well. So much so that Canadian mothers and fathers are okay with men dressing up as women and having story time with your children in libraries and in your schools. Your level of discernment has gone. So this is why they are attacking PierrePoilievre. They are afraid that he's really going to ignite the consciousness north of the border that Trump and every mother and father that stood up against the nonsense south of the border was able to do, and create a ripple effect that even woke up the Democrats within their party to say, hold on a minute, this has gone too far. California, that they thought was a safe place, they pushed back. New York, like the places that they thought were safe, their own people in their party said, hold on a minute. That was the wave of consciousness that seared the people of the United States of America. And they are terrified that that consciousness is going to sear the Canadian people north of the border. They are terrified. Carney is under the smoke and the heat of the MarkCarney era of his decisions. They've now sent people like Rebel News and all that to make mockery of something that's very factual. As much as I appreciate Rebel News for certain exposés, they themselves allow themselves to be used to mock the truth. Because why are you going to ask Carney about the number of people that him and Epstein, like that's not even, come on. Let's be real. How about you ask a real question as to his decision making as a leader? That him and his wife decided that these people are their best friends. These are the people that they hang around. How about asking about the decision making of him being part of the investigation with a CBC reporter in regards to illegal art dealings? Evan Solomon, 2015, that was fired. All of a sudden now Evan Solomon is now his candidate. They said that they have integrity-based decision who their candidates are, and they disqualified 2 candidates because of integrity. But you don't disqualify Evan Solomon, who there was an investigation, expose about his illegal art dealings as a journalist. And in that expose, MarkCarney was listed way back in 2015. The Liberal Party Green Light Committee didn't see Evan Solomon as a red light. There's so many inconsistencies with the Liberals. It's not hard for you to really step back and look at this party that you would not risk your children's life again in their care. Enough of our children were harmed. Enough of our children were harmed in the hands of this liberal government who remained tone deaf when their own Canadian experts were telling them, please pay attention to these numbers, these statistics. Now we are supposed to believe that the new boogeyman south of the border now is not a virus that your own people are telling you, Justin Trudeau and liberal cabinets, hold on a minute. No. You don't want to listen to them. You listen to who you want it to, because you're in an echo chamber that want confirmation bias. You want someone to say what you want to hear. And Doug Ford went lockstep with him, just like Erin O'Toole went lockstep with him. And thank goodness at a federal level, we had enough ministers who had spines and said no to Erin O'Toole and did a revolt. Sadly for Ontario and the province, we have no MPPs with spines, conservatives, who were able to push back. We had one, she was excommunicated and she created a party. And someone told me about her. And I supported her, and I believed that her husband was going to be a reflection of her. And I come to find out that he's not. And I've already shared that in my other podcast with Doug Ford. And I exposed and I shared my personal experience with the leadership of the New Blue Party. And that's why I sent them a letter and told them, cancel my membership, take my image and everything off your page. And I sent a letter to Elections Ontario with all the evidence, myself, my president, and another president of another riding. And we wanted nothing to do with that party when we realized what was happening. That is the type of conservative I am. That's the kind of classical liberal I am. That's the kind of woman I am. Those are the people that people like Doug Ford are afraid of. Those are the people that other leaders that want to call themselves conservative integrity, they're afraid of Canadians like me who don't want anything to do with corruption. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. So I would be a threat to someone who is unethical. I would be a threat to a leader who wants compliance to corruption, who wants loyalty to corruption, who wants someone who's loyal to the money. That's why Jagmeet Singh didn't care about railroading the NDP to oblivion, because he wanted to make sure he got his bag. And I don't feel sorry for the NDP party because you kept him around. Your members said yes to him. You remain loyal to a person and not to your party's principles. This is the type of conservatives that they want. This is the kind of liberals that they want. That's why they got rid of all the classical liberals. And that's why Doug Ford doesn't want real conservatives. And that's why I'm happy that PierrePoilievre on a federal level is saying no to what the people, the grassroots want. If it's the same grassroots conservative writing association provincially, that is the same makeup and it's the same members, because I know some presidents in provincial conservative writings might also share on the federal. If PierrePoilievre is saying no because of that, I salute him. He can't control what the writings are doing for the writings to actually be real conservatives, and they want to go along with bringing in Doug Ford's people. They can't do anything for that level, but they sure can say no to someone coming in. If you, on a real grassroots level, don't want to do your proper vetting of really separating your federal writing from your provincial. Because let me tell you something, your provincial conservative writing association, they have no spine. They have no say. They have no pushback. They go along with Doug Ford, bringing in whoever he wants to bring in, and they interview whoever he tells them to interview. They have no say. They're just there for pageantry. And I know that from firsthand experience. That is why I tell people I only speak about what I know as a fact. I give people the second, third chances. I give you the benefit of the doubt. But when you show me who you really are, I believe you. When someone tells me, he's changed, he's regretted, and I hear him say, I'm sorry, I'm like, okay, great. And I give you a second chance to make a first impression, and your second chance shows me that you have not changed, I'm out. I'm out. I have no time for the buffoonery. I'm too old for it. You youngsters might want to give people 15 chances. I'm too old for the nonsense. I see right through it. I'm done. So the richness of any journalist questioning PierrePoilievre and talking about the grassroots, I wanted to know, tell the grassroots to clean up their mess. Tell the grassroots conservative writing associations, clean up your backyard. Send PierrePoilievre real ethical people who are not compromisable, who have no connection to Doug Ford in no way, shape, or form. And then we can talk some business. Until then, they have all right to say no to who you want to send up, who you want to elect and send up in there to create problems for PierrePoilievre. Because Doug Ford has a bigger agenda. Doug Ford wants to start drama. He wants to take over the federal party. He's sending up his Trojans up there to relay messages back and to start the strife. No, Doug. Stay in Ontario until the Ontario conservatives have a spine and get rid of you. And all of your nymphs that has helped you destroy Ontario. He's running a bigger deficit in Ontario than Kathleen Wynne ever. He kept the curriculum, the same ideologies that we all are saying no to. Yet still conservatives are voting him in as a conservative. Whatever, the devil is a liar. I salute PierrePoilievre if that is the reason. Good job. We want a clean house, and there's no way for you clean house when you bring in roaches. Leave them there. Run provincially. Do your thing provincially. Bring in conservatives who are not contaminated. And now, let me move forward now, showing you the truth about what Donald Trump said about the automotive industry. It is not what Carney and the Liberal Party is telling you, and they're making you afraid right now. And I hope somebody south of the border hears this, because Carney's saying how Donald Trump reached out and his people reached out. It could be because of the dealings and the wheelings that Doug Ford has done on behalf of the Liberal Party to set up an alley hoop for Carney. So now people are reaching out to Carney because of what Doug Ford was doing. But when Doug Ford is down there, he's misappropriating and misrepresenting who PierrePoilievre is. Listen, Canadians, you have no idea what you guys are up against. And this is why people like Doug Ford, Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, Carney, MarkCarney, all of the Liberal cabinets, they love the fact that you have not caught on to them. They love the fact that you are passively keeping yourself in the dark intentionally. You refuse to want to see the person that is truly standing in front of you because you want to live in nostalgia. I said this in my last video. You remind me of domestic violence situation where women refuse to admit that the person that they're with is not the person they married to, they have dreams and they're hoping for. Same thing with men who are in domestic violent relationships where they refuse to admit that the woman that they fell in love with and they thought is not that person. They live in nostalgia. So the abuser keep abusing you and they come back, they say they're sorry, they give you roses, they give you nice notes, they give you chocolate, they do all this stuff to wipe you and patch you up and, wipe the blood from your mouth and take you to the hospital, but tell you, don't say anything because I'm going to get in trouble. And they put all these guilt trips on you. I go through these type of scenarios with so many. At the end of the day, what is it going to take for you to finally realize that this person is exactly the monster that everybody else is seeing and warning you about? At what point of the abuse is it going to take for you to admit that the person that you're with right now is not the person you started off with or that you saw potential in? Deal with the right now. Deal with the abuse that the person has walked you through and you've lived. The abuse that Justin Trudeau, Liberal Party with MarkCarney as his financial advisor, the same financial advisor that destroyed the UK economy. The cabinet ministers that Carney's chosen, he's already vetted them and seen they've been tested, tried and true, that they're corrupted and they will stay corrupt and they would say nothing. That's the type of people he wants and that's why he kept them around. And you're going to hand over your children's life again to this Liberal company? Yeah, it's a company. It's not a government. You're going to hand your small business, your retirement income. Again, the abuser loves for you to forget what they did to you. It's your responsibility not to forget. They want to clean up their mess. They want to change and be a different man, different woman, and different government. Let them do that on their time. Give them a timeout. Let them go over in the corner and let them show you that they've changed. Get rid of all of them and let's see if the riding associations are going to get back to center as they want you to now say they've changed their coats. The spots that they have, they've now changed it all of a sudden. A leopard does not change your spots, ladies and gentlemen. All of a sudden, you're going to do in 9 days what we've been yelling and screaming and crying and lining up in food banks, the high unaliving rate, the suicide, the depression. For 9 years, you kept it going. You cabinet ministers and MarkCarney, the advisor, you were able to do in 9 days the reversal that you had imposed on us for 9 years. That tells me more volumes about how disgusting you are. And you did it without Parliament being in session. That's also mind-blowing. You've been able to do all this with no parliament, and for 9 years. I'm sorry. As I said, I'm too old for this. I see this. I see exactly what's happening. They're relying on you to remain traumatized and stuck in the abuse so much that you refuse to believe that the monster is really the monster. And the monster will tell you, no, your mother is the one that's stirring up the problem. It's your daughter. It's the kids. It's the auntie. They now make you think that the other people around you who are seeing what's happening, they now tell you that they're the enemy. And you're standing with your man. You're standing with your woman against the very same people that are showing you that this is not good for you. And all of a sudden, your abuser is successful in making them be the bad guy. Domestic abuse is so real. It's so real that you're actually going through domestic abuse right now, domestically. Your own government domestically is abusing you. Destroyed your livelihood. Your elders were isolated. Many passed away. Your children, listen, you who want to pretend that 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2022 and 2023 didn't happen, and as dark as it did, that's up to you to stay in denial. And the media is so guilty of not making you see the darkness of your abuser. This same media is now rinsing and repeating that there's a new focus to deflect you from, and it's Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is not your enemy. So let's go and show you the truth about what Donald. Show you some other Canadian content creators that are putting things out there that many of you are refusing to acknowledge, or you don't even know exists, or you see it, and because you're still in the psychological prison of being in love with your abuser and defending your abuser because of the reasons that I mentioned. You might have seen them, you might not have seen them, but I'm going to share their content so that you are able to, once again, not say that you didn't know. All right? So let's get going here. And I believe, there you go. All right, so here we go. Enjoy.
Your life easier. Watch this.
I can't believe I'm breaking this news story, but here we are. MarkCarney and the liberals and the media lied about Donald Trump's 25% auto tariffs, and I will prove that to you right now. So this is what the actual White House fact sheet says. Importers will be able to certify their U.S. content, and the 25% tariff will only apply to the non-U.S. portion of vehicles. So if you're building cars in Canada or Mexico with mostly American parts, you are exempt under the USMCA deal. And let's get this. The new tariff doesn't even kick in until the U.S. sets up a process to measure non-U.S. content. That means that there is no automatic tariff on Canadian cars. There is no job losses, unless, of course, companies jumped the gun on that one. And there is also no crisis, unless you are importing EV batteries from China, which is the actual target, not Canada. I just refreshed CTV and CBC, and none of them have corrected their stories here. And MarkCarney and liberals are saying that Trump is attacking Canada, that this is a war on Canada's auto sector, and it is total BS. The White House fact sheet literally says the 25% tariff will not apply across the board. It says that USMCA compliant auto parts are also tariff-free, and it also says that there is no immediate tariff. So why exactly is the media and the Liberal government clearly ignoring the very obvious exemption under the USMCA deal? This isn't even an attack on Canada. This is about targeting Chinese, European, and other not North American content that's inside of vehicles. Now, why would they do this? Well, in the last week alone, the whole Ghislaine Maxwell situation and MarkCarney has been brought up again. So has MarkCarney and all of his tax haven offshore bank accounts to avoid paying Canadian taxes. So this is very obviously a media manipulation to paint Trump as dangerous to Canada, to make you hate Donald Trump over something that Donald Trump isn't even doing to Canada. MarkCarney and the media allies are manufacturing a crisis to create fear and also shift a narrative. And if I was able to find out this information by reading the fact sheet, I'm pretty sure they know it too.
Gotta love it when other people make your life easier. Watch this.
I can't believe I'm breaking this news story, but...
So, here is the fact sheet. Let me make sure my mic is on. I'll make sure my mic is on. Okay, my apologies, my mic was off. So, here is the fact sheet. Again, it was very easy for me to find. So, just like what the young lady said, if she could find it and I could find it, not understanding why everybody else couldn't find it. I put the links to the fact sheet in the description. The Instagram pages, this young man, I call him a young man because I'm an old woman. It's called Mario for the North. Okay, go check him out. I came across him on TikTok right before they had the whole TikTok is gonna be banned, and then Donald Trump, came in and did the Trump effect, and everybody kind of forget that, right? But anyhow, so I found him before then, and I was like, do you have another page that I can go to just, for when the shutdown happens? And then I found him on YouTube. And I don't think he's on X. So I shared a couple of his stuff on my X platform too, just again, telling you to go and connect with him. He's on Instagram. He's also on TikTok. Okay. Great content. I'm telling you, this guy is amazing. The only thing I was disappointed in him with was his coverage of the Ruby Dollar. I made a comment. I made my own post. And I'm like, okay, Mari, I know you're really good at researching. So a little bit of disappointment you didn't dig a little bit deeper, and I explained why in regards to that scenario. But apart from that, I know his heart was in the right place. But apart from that, all his other stuff, I've been able to find, vet, and he's always on point. Okay. But however, the point of the Ruby Dollar thing still stands. The fact that they kicked her out, stating one thing, their statement did not make any sense. Yet still, Evan Solomon is now the candidate, and Carney of all people that have a lot of red lights, you green light him. So as I said, I agree with the premise of what he was coming from, but I added some context to what she's claiming, right? So the White House statement, the link to the White House fact sheet is in the description. It is right here. It is right here what she's talking about in regards to the importers. Let me see if I could make this bigger. If not, as I said, the link is in the description. All right. And let me bring that over a little bit. Okay. And it's right here. It talks about the importers of the automobiles under the United States. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. It's here. And it talks about when it's going to kick in. It's not, again, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Chicken Little issue. It's the same thing that was happening before. Okay? Listen, PierrePoilievre, please. I'm not too sure if it's possible budget-wise to dedicate one person, hire a person specifically to do fact checking on any media release about Trump that the Canadian government co-opted media is stating, because they want you to go along with the narrative as well. Okay, it's a setup. It's a setup. I've reached out to your party. I've sent an email a couple weeks ago to your party. Well, not to your party, but to an individual that is part of your party. So hopefully they found it. They have it. The inbox is probably crazy, but at the end of the day, I sent an email and I laid out everything in that email. Okay. This is important that you have someone dedicated to fact check, because they want you to go along with the narrative. At the end of the day, be very careful. Be very, very careful and respond to exactly what it is, because you, PierrePoilievre, can actually help the Canadian people see how lying MarkCarney and the media is, and for them to see how manipulative they are in regards to how they're stroking up this heated animosity against our American people. And if you notice, Trump never attacks Canadians. If you notice his narrative, he doesn't attack us. It's the government that he doesn't like, because he knows the swamp that he's trying to drain went up. It went north. And they've been in cahoots. Years ago, we talked about George Soros, who is funding so much of what was happening south of the border to destroy America, was very good friends with Justin Trudeau. That came out years ago. So again, I already talked about Jagmeet Singh and Bernie Sanders and those people. And then you have Hillary Clinton being the guest speaker with Chrystia Freeland in the last Liberal convention. Barack Obama affectionately shows and speaks about Justin Trudeau. I'm sorry, like what? Now all of a sudden, oh, we're not American. America has American. The ideologies and the energies that has set its sight on destroying the US of A also knew that it needs to contaminate Canada, because they need the entire North to be in their control. They are terrified that PierrePoilievre is going to win, and we're going to have a true, strong North America and free. It is in our best interest to see right through the setup. Vote a conservative party, because we need someone to stand on guard so that the takeover does not happen, and we can work with our cousins. We can work with Trump. Trump is not against the Canadian people. He's against a corrupted liberal government that we also were against up until Justin took his bow, because Chrystia was the one that brought the camel's back, because they needed an exit where it doesn't make him look too weak. It's a rinse and repeat of what they've done south of the border, guys. It is no different. Biden needed to go. He said, I'm not going. Justin needed to go. He said, I'm not going. Biden stayed and fought and fought. And he's like, I'm not leaving. Justin did the same thing until they're like, listen, they found a woman and said, listen, you better come out or I'm going to make you fall. And he had to concede to Kamala. Chrystia was the woman here that said, listen, you need to go. You don't think Chrystia, Hillary, Kamala, all of listen. You guys think everything is a conspiracy theory when the things are right in front of your faces. The players have been right in front of your faces. It's the same ammo that they're doing. They just couldn't bring in Carney. They had to make it look like it's an election process because they saw what did not work south of the border. And they're like, okay, let's tweak it. We have to make them feel like that we had a race, because that's what they didn't do south of the border. And that's what got a lot of them within the Democratic Party very upset, that it wasn't quote unquote democratic. And Kamala just got handed the position. So they're like, okay, we can't do that exactly here. We can't just give it over to Chrystia, because Chrystia is the deputy prime minister. So technically, just like we have a vice president south of the border, Kamala, we had a deputy, Chrystia. Chrystia and Kamala were already set up to be, right? And then the men who needed to release and let the women be did not want to release. So the women are like, okay, we're going to pull the plug. They figured it out south of the border. They couldn't do it exactly the way that Biden did, where Justin let go and give Chrystia the helm. Justin's like, no, 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 no. So Chrystia said, okay, I'm going to do it for you. And she made him crumble and then ran, thinking that she would have been a showing like Kamala. And then Carney's like, no, Chrystia, hold my beer. Hold my non-Canadian beer. And that's why he still rewarded her. That's her God. That's his godson's mother. At the end of the day, it's no different, ladies and gentlemen. Read the things for yourself. PierrePoilievre, find someone that can vet these information, because this is not what they're wanting you to believe. As I said, the link is in the description. It's the fact sheet. Okay? The link is in the description. Now, let's move forward to another item on my list of what we're going to talk about today. Today is going to be a long one. And the next one on the list is going to be about how Donald Trump is who really is Donald Trump. Who really is Donald Trump? And why it's important for you to really know who it is that you are saying is a monster. It's important to know who exactly they're wanting you to believe is a monster. He's not. Many of us don't care to want to know him. In any art of war, and they're trying to say we're on war, we're in a war, we're in a war, get to know who your enemy is if you really think you're in war. And when you get to know Donald Trump, you're just like, we're not in war. Donald Trump is not after us. It's very clear who he's after. He's been trying to help us get rid of the corruption. Donald Trump single-handedly all of a sudden made the Liberal Party be a government to actually serve the people. It took an outsider to make our government start governing, and he's the bad guy? So I'm going to play some clips. And the clips I'm going to play, this is from a show from the Stephen A. His name is Stephen A. Smith. And he did an interview with Bill O'Reilly. And in the interview, Bill O'Reilly shared some tidbits. It's important for you to get, just like the Americans, it's important for them to get out of their bubble and really get to hear what's happening to the enemies that people telling you is your enemy. It's important for Canadians to also get to know the person and the people that they're telling you is your enemy. It's very important. So here is, let me just back this up. Here is the parts. I'm just trying to cue it up here for you. Here's the parts of when Stephen A. Smith asked Bill O'Reilly his feedback on Trump and his presidency. It's important to hear from people themselves what they're saying. And Bill O'Reilly has known Trump for many years, insider. He's been very objective, very like he's if you get to know, the link for the entire video, the interview is in the description again. So let's hear what was asked and what Bill O'Reilly answered.
It's all about provocation. It's all about putting your opposition off balance, getting them annoyed, getting them emotional. And that's what these MAGA people do. Bannon knows there's no way that Donald Trump's going to run for a third term. Trump knows it. Everybody knows. But they just throw the hand grenade out, hoping that some nitwit on CNN will get upset and rant and rave. This is a hobby for them. They enjoy this. Okay?
But what does it do
It's
for
like
them?
It's
Could
like
you
a
speak to
heckler
that?
in
Like,
the
for example,
dugout.
if somebody on
Okay?
CNN or MSNBC goes off, and they provoke somebody to do that, what is the fallout from it in the eyes of a Trump, a Bannon, etc.?
There isn't any. Those people aren't going to vote for him anyway. So they don't have any downside to it. It's like a heckler in the dugout or on the bench in a basketball game or football game. You try to throw your opposition off balance. You try to confuse them by throwing in all of this stuff and calling them names or whatever you do. And that's what the current administration does. They throw out all of this stuff. About 20% of it is real, and the other 80% is what they call hyperbole. And so Trump will go, Joe Biden's the worst president of all time. And everybody go, yay. Well, he's not. He's the second worst. Right? Nobody is worse than James Buchanan.
So here you have where the people are saying Trump and his statements of the 51st state and calling Trudeau governor and all of these things. Again, it's part of who he is and what he does to get under your skin. And it worked. He talked about he does this with people who are weak. He says these things, he does these things because he knows it's getting under their skin. He knows that it's irking them. And he keeps saying it over and over. He means absolutely nothing. They talk about the hot mic moment of Justin. No, that's no hot mic. That's a setup. Justin wanted to look like it's a hot mic and da-da-da-da. No. At the end of the day, Justin wants people to be afraid and think that this is because they have been able to rule us with fear. If you haven't noticed, the only thing that they've been able to do in the past 5 years because of this whole of COVID is fear. They've used fear. That's all they have been using is fear. So they bring up something else to be fearful of. And that has been the ammunition from day one, is to have you perpetually making decisions out of fear. When you step back and you have a clear mind, the fear is gone. And you're able to be critical. They do not want you to be critical because a critical thinker would stop and say, why am I getting upset at a leader of another country who so quickly made decisive actions that force you to finally do the things that your own opposition has been telling you, pleading, asking, and you've been saying, no. We've been asking for a vote. We've been asking for us to have the people go to the polls, and you have refused. The NDP have propped you up, and this is why we are where we are. With everything that Donald Trump is now demanding should have already been done. The things that Carney is saying he's been able to do with the provincial ministers, dude, that's nothing new. It's been refused by your own Liberal Party while you were also the financial advisor, who also supported the fact that we should not have our own pipelines from one end to the next. So again, the hypocrisy is ripe. It's very, very ripe. I'm going to cue it up to this other part here where he makes mention. This is another good part here. We're going to fast forward.
I mean, we're going to run out of money in July, according to Federal Reserve. And I mean, that you think the stock market's wobbly now? If the United States starts to default on its debt, can't pay its interest on the savings bonds, you're looking at a depression situation here.
So again, an insight to what's happening. Trump has to put his country first because they are going to go in a massive depression. Now, let me ask you something. If America falls, you don't think we're going to fall right after? If America can't pay off and pay on their, like all the same trade that they're saying we're selling to them, they would not be able to buy. Listen, Trump is trying to wake us up and make us become independent and stand on our own 2 feet. He has to save his country. Let me wind this back again for you to understand why he is in such an aggressive way of doing things, and he is in this state of urgency because it is urgent. See, what Biden and Kamala was doing with the citizens was keeping them in the dark, making them believe that everything was okay. It's just like, a mother and a father, husband and wife, don't want the children to know that they're one paycheck away from losing the house. So they pretend that everything's okay because they don't want the children to worry. However, a responsible mother and father, as they're not wanting to sound the alarm and have the children really see the dire distress and what's happening, you'll be working diligently behind the scenes to see what you can do. That's why you might not be able to go to this anymore. And they'll be like, why can't we go here? Why can't we do this? And they'll make up all these different reasons, but they don't want to sit the children down and say, listen, this is what's happening right now. These are the things you're going to have to sacrifice. It's going to hurt. Don't freak out. It's going to hurt. We're going to do everything that we can do. And these are the things that's going to happen. These are the sacrifices we're going to make. You'll be surprised how the children are going to want to bring down their piggy bank. The children are going to be like, okay, I don't really need that then. Okay, I don't really need that then. The children are going to be telling you all the things that they really don't need when they realize the severity of what's about to happen. But when you keep the children in delusion, they still want to demand and expect a certain quality of life when you know it can't happen. That's irresponsible for you to do that. Trump is letting his people know. And Bill O'Reilly's letting the people know. And this is why the citizen says, let's do whatever you need to do, Trump, because they're seeing what's really happening. This is why their own within the Democratic Party is like, listen, we're out. We're stepping out of this. You've been lying to us. Listen, the house is burning down. Don't tell. We've been smelling smoke, but you're telling us, oh, it's something else. No. So this is why Trump is being Trump, because he knows the real situation. So I'm going to play it again for you to hear.
The desert. You're not. There's opportunity.
Bill, at this point
you gotta be,
in your life,
you got to be fair as you can about it.
At this point in your life, and I'm not talking about a lot of times when folks on the right get critiqued, the belief is they don't care enough about the working class, but the left does, even though we now know that the left has lost the working class, and Donald Trump won an election because the working class had more faith in him than they did in the left. Your thoughts about the Trump administration and their position on that, federal jobs, people losing their jobs right now in terms of cutting costs?
I mean, look, I'm very sympathetic to anybody who's honest and making a living and trying to improve the nation. Some people are going to get let go that shouldn't get let go. And I am calling for the Trump administration to be as precise in its cuts as it can be. There's a lot of waste. There's a lot of people not doing what they should do. The federal government has to be downsized. It has to be. You can't carry a $36 trillion debt. I mean, we're going to run out of money in July, according to Federal Reserve. And I mean, that you think the stock market's wobbly now? If the United States starts to default on its debt, can't pay its interest on the savings bonds, you're looking at a depression situation here. So you've got to downsize it. And when any
So you have to downsize it. This is what Trump is dealing with. This is what he's up against. This is the cleanup that he has to do. All right. I'm going to now pivot to another video. I'm going to pivot to another video. Let me just cue this one up as well. So again, the link to that one is in the description. For you to get the full video of that one is in the description. To listen to that full interview. This one is where he's asking him to assess Trump. He's asking him to assess what he's done so far, to give a rundown. The reason why I'm showing this is for you here to understand what is really happening there and why Trump is doing what he's doing. This is why we need a leadership here to put us as a priority as well. Trump is not against Canadians. Trump has to save America. Carney and the Liberal government cannot save Canada. They have been doing exactly what the Biden administration wanted them to do, which is to create total dependency on the government, while the government takes away all your savings, takes away everything and all the safeguards, and then you have nothing. And then you have the World Economic Forum and all these outside agencies to now swoop in, because you truly would have nothing. You would have nothing left. And you now will be at their mercy. Then they're going to finally say, you know what, folks, and they want to create a new boogeyman and create another reason why you should be okay with you not being able to afford anything. The Liberal government north of the border has been in cahoots and have been in partnership with the Biden Kamala administration and Obama as a leftover, as a carryover administration, to slowly eat away at every part of what it is to have been a strong North America. Trump is coming in the moment that he's in for his people, and we need to bring PierrePoilievre in north of the border. And everything that Carney is saying that the Liberal Party has done is what PierrePoilievre has been saying for time and a half right now. So please, I'm not impressed with you ripping off somebody else's idea and calling it your own. I want to put the person who created the idea and had these genius and forward thinking at the head. Because all you're doing is copying from them. You don't have anything original to create a solution. It's time for you to go. So this is what the answer was in regards to Trump and his assessment of what he's done so far. And you're going to be surprised what he says here about the tariffs in Canada.
35 years. How would you label the job that he has done thus far? Critique the job that he has done thus far, the positives and the negatives.
Well, you have to break it out. You can't just do one uniform. So on the border, A+. All right, knocked out the open border in record time, 94% intrusions, less than Biden had. That is an incredible achievement. Incredible. As far as the migrants inside the United States, I just talked to Tom Homan. I have a pretty good idea on what the strategy is going forward.
Remember our issue here as well. Biden opened up the borders south, Justin opened up the borders north. They both have been on the same game plan. The mass immigration, we call it here, south of the border was calling a mass invasion. it was a coordinated attack on North America as a whole.
I'm supportive of it. You have to get the dubious people out. And if a criminal alien is dating an alien that doesn't have a criminal record, they both go. The Homeland Security is not going to delineate at that level. So I'm with him. On the economy, the tariff thing was too much, too soon. And it shook the market. Now, I think the market is going to come back, but I don't know. And that was not a good thing for the Trump administration, because people get nervous when you see that kind of a drop that fast. And I don't know why he had to do all the tariffs at once. You could just piece it out a little bit. I don't think she'd be invading Canada or Greenland or Panama. I think when you can get what you want without rattling their cage to that extent, but it's the same thing. Rattle them up, keep them off balance, and it'll be easier to get what we want. So Trump is trying to get better economic deals. He wants more companies to move back to the United States. That seems to be happening.
So again, you heard for yourself. You heard for yourself. Okay? You heard for yourself. This was about rattling. And he did rattle Justin. He did rattle everybody. But because Justin has been a weak leader from the beginning, he didn't know how to handle Trump. He didn't care to know how to handle Trump, because a great leader know your opposition, you know your competition. You learn your competition, you watch them, you figure them out. I'm putting this up here because of all the videos that I'm in watching. Disclaimer, because I'm sharing their stuff for educational, teaching, critique, all of that stuff, right? That's what he was doing with Justin. That's what he's doing right now, is rattling. And he's hoping that as he's rattling, we're going to also be waking up and saying, yeah, you know what? Why weren't we doing this? Why weren't we doing this in the first place? When PierrePoilievre is reminding you what he's been saying, you'd be like, yes, that's exactly why PierrePoilievre has been telling us and saying, do this. Now, look, we're dependent on America. And America is saying, hey, don't depend on us anymore, because we got to stand on our own right now. And we got to save us. You know, they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you go and save others. And that's what Trump is doing right now. Trump is like, listen, we got to put the oxygen mask on ourselves. And all we need is a conservative party here in Canada says, you know what, Trump, I got you. We're going to put it on ourselves too. And let us regain our strength. And then we can come back to, okay, cousin, how you doing, cousin? You're a good cousin? Yeah, I'm good, cousin, man. Whew, we got through that one. But we need to put the mask on ourselves, know that we're not fighting each other. We have to fight the corruption that came in and made our country the way it is. We got to fight by getting them out. We got to detox them out. We got to purge them out. We got to vote them out. And then we got to recuperate. And we're going to leave them out for a very long time. And I said it in my last life. We got to leave them out for a very long time for them to feel what it feels like to rebuild. Because they're telling us children are resilient. It doesn't matter that they lost 2-3 years of their academics. Children are resilient. Okay, well, you big time elected minister with a nice paycheck to fall back on and pension to fall back on. You're resilient too. Bye-bye. The same way they told the senior citizens and everybody had to dip into their savings. All the small businesses that lost their mom and pop shots, they're resilient. You give them their CERB little bit of help, and then you tell them they got to pay it back. You're telling everybody that they're resilient, but you're not resilient. You need to be resilient with your big paycheck that you took, and you could be resilient and you could bounce back. For a very long time, we're not seeing the Liberal Party in power for a very long time as we rebuild. Let them understand what it feels like being resilient, because they're telling all of us that we need to be resilient. We need to come together. You know, you can come together with your nice paychecks and your nice bank accounts that does not even reflect the average Canadians. You guys You guys got paid and compensated well for destroying our economy, destroying lives. No matter amount of dollar figure can replace the lives that has been lost because of Justin Trudeau power-hungry abuse of power. When everybody else was opening up, he said, no, I'm going to keep them locked. Countries, everybody else was just like, figured it out. They all figured it out like, okay, hold on, the sky isn't falling. But Justin said, no. Look, listen to all my other podcasts and get caught up with everything I've been saying. And allow yourself, me as an ex-liberal, this is for, it's to help the conservatives as well, because many of you are acting like the liberals. I swear, I'm just shocked. As a classical liberal, I'm shocked to see how the conservatives have been duped, because many of us left the Liberal Party, and here you are seeing a conservative and you're riding along with it. That's just been very shocking for me. I'm just like, wow, we're leaving our party and you're like joining and you're supporting and you're propping them up like, huh? I'm just shocked that so many conservatives went along with the lies. I'm just totally shocked. And I'm talking on a provincial level. Totally shocked. On a federal level, for my classical liberals and for the liberals who are staying in this description of Liberal Party that is holding on to some nostalgia, it's not the Liberal Party that you are being told or you refuse to want to admit that it isn't. They have destroyed this country because of greed, ego, the hunger for power. It's an abuse. There's narcissism there. There's also low self-esteem. Like, there's so much that I am able to identify in so many of these leaders. But at the end of the day, these people destroyed this country. It's come to the truth that what perpetuated this, and they like to talk about the lockdowns, it's because of the leadership and the cabinet ministers that allowed it to go on for so long, that made us have the debt that we have. It's because of that. And that was their leadership decision. And even though the truth has now come out, your media is not allowing you to hear the testimonies from south of the border. And we all have to admit, stop lying to yourself, because even at that time, Mayor John Tory says that they are listening and they're going along with the American CDC decision. He went on American television and admitted that Canada is relying on the information from America. So don't act like all of a sudden it was all Canadian experts. No, we listened to and we relied on what was happening there and what they were saying. So stop lying to ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's because of the lies of the corruption in America that our government and our health ministers continue to lie here. So go to where the lie started and listen to the testimonies that they were now forced to admit in their Congress. Not no inquiry up here that we were forced to do because we have no reputable court system, because all of our court systems are now just in lockstep with whatever the government tells them. So we have to do an inquiry that the media tells you it's not binding, it's not serious. Listen to the testimonies that they had to say in Congress. Just listen to the facts. And then you would be shocked that Justin Trudeau, Theresa Tam, Doug Ford, Christine Elliott, Mr. Moore, all of them from all levels went along with the lies from Dr. Fauci, the CDC. It's there. It's all there. And they kept us under lockdown. And as a result of that, our businesses, our economies, and lives were destroyed. So we are in the financial crisis that we are because of the leadership decision that refused to listen to their own Canadian experts, their own doctors, their own virologists, their own epidemiologists and virologists and all of these big fancy words. We had our own, and they lost their certification. A lot of them lost their licensing, lost their jobs. We had many professors that lost their license because they're saying, guys, that is not the science. Our own were not listened to because we were listening to the Americans. So as much as we're saying we're not American and made in Canada and all of that, but we listened to the Americans to say it's okay to lock our country down. Your government listens to the Americans to justify locking you down. Your government listens to the Americans to justify putting things in your body. Your government listened to the Americans to justify shutting down schools here in Canada and affecting your children's education, scholarships, and everything were gone. Your Canadian government listened to the Americans to disrupt your quality of life. Your Canadian government listened to the Americans to restrict your movement, period. And all of a sudden now we're made in Canada. Really interesting. When we had our own made in Canada professionals, highly qualified, that were telling your Canadian government, guys, I think you're wrong here. Are you listening to this? Are you looking at this? Our made in Canada academia, we're not listened to. Our made in Canada experts weren't listened to. Our made in Canada journalists that were trying to tell the truth weren't listened to. We listened to the made in Canada that listened to the Americans. Listen to the World Health Organization somewhere else, not in Canada. Listen to the World Economic Forum that's somewhere else, not in Canada. But all of a sudden now we're Canada strong, elbows up. Really? Please do not allow this government to win in their belief that you are easily fooled. I would love to believe that you're going to send them a very strong message that you're not easily fooled. I'm praying that you do. So here we go with another clip for the other program in regards to talking about... No, we already done that one. In talking about not wanting the American government to be the socialist government that Bernie Sanders, the same Bernie Sanders that Jagmeet Singh was doing the lives just a couple weeks ago on. It's the same Bernie Sanders that's now on a campaign trying to sell the American people to be a socialist government. It's the same socialist agenda that the NDP is saying that they're so happy that the liberals went along with. And at the end of the day, I remembered the fact that I don't want to be so poor that I have to rely on the government to take care of me and my children. I want to be able to have my enough wealth and be able to be in a land where I can be an entrepreneur and I could actually make enough money that I can decide, and I don't have to be so poor and live under a low tax bracket to be taken care of by my big daddy called government. He shares here as to what the agenda is and why, again, Trump is doing what he's doing. And it's important that we really get to know why Trump is doing what he's doing, and then that will assist you in truly analyzing why things are happening, so you can really focus on who is our enemy. And it is not Donald Trump. It is the liberal federal party who has been the enemy of Canadians for the past 10 years, who allowed our country to be infiltrated with the ideologies of the South that Trump has to now clean up to save his country. And all he's asking us to do is to put the oxygen mask on ourselves, hold our leaders accountable, just like they held their leader accountable and got rid of the Biden, Kamala, Democratic Party traitors. It's time for us to hold our traitors accountable and get rid of them. That way we can really rebuild our Canada.
You can't. You don't have the money. This is a capitalistic nation. This isn't Sweden. Okay? We don't do cradle to grave entitlements here. The Democratic Party wants that kind of a system. That's why Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez are on the tour now, to convince Americans to do socialism, that we'll take care of you. Okay, we'll spend on you, and we'll take the money from O'Reilly and Stephen A. Smith, and we'll give it to you. That's what they do. But the Republicans, they had no interest in cutting anything. None. Because it's too hard then. They go, yeah, we'll give it to it. We'll give it to them. We'll do this. We'll do that. Look how much money the Pentagon wastes. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money they waste. They don't discipline their buys. They don't supervise their builds. They waste money because it's an endless spigot. It's not like you're running a household budget. All right. Oh, yeah, we need more money. Come on, they'll give us more money.
Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? That sounds like what was happening here. They're not running the government like many of us have to run our household budgets. You want more money? Sure. You want sure. The Bernie Sanders that's now trying to convince American people of becoming a socialist government. He said, this is not Sweden. He says, from the cradle to the grave entitlement, meaning from since you're born until you die, the government is entitled to taking care of you. Who wants that? That comes with a lot of restrictions. One of the restrictions is that you cannot make your own money. One of the restrictions that you work for me and we tax you crazily because we have to take care of you. And what we do, we give you dental, we give you this, we give you that, you give you that. Oh my goodness. This is exactly what was happening here. This is why Jagmeet Singh loves Bernie Sanders so much so that he did lives with Bernie Sanders a couple weeks ago. He was canvassing for the Kamala here in Canada. He was canvassing for Kamala Harris and being upset and send donations and let's round up our troops and let's get a strategy, and because Kamala Harris lost. What does that have to do with Canada? Because you know what? It wasn't just a Kamala Harris loss. It was that their agenda lost. And they were all freaking out because they lost the South. Now their clutches are on the North. And if you think we talk about foreign interference, there's a lot of interference from these camps in the South that's now focused here. They do not want to lose the North. It's important that we make them lose the North. It's in our best interest that they also lose the stronghold that they thought they have in the north. And then as soon as PierrePoilievre wins, Doug Ford is going to be doo-dooing in his pants. Because he's going to be next, because it's now going to be a ripple effect of real conservatives waking up and turning our eyes on who our real enemies have been. You'll see how Doug Ford retires. PierrePoilievre wins, and PierrePoilievre stays on the same energy that he's with right now and not allowing certain people to come in, and fully aware that Doug Ford has been working hand in hand with the Liberal government to make him fail. Trust and believe, I pray, the Conservative Party has a strong majority here, and then they allow the truth to be revealed for us to see exactly what's happening in Ontario. And the Conservatives in Ontario wake up and get rid of every traitor that went along with Doug Ford's betrayal to assist our demise. Last video. I'm going to wrap up this last video. This one is... Oh, this one is a good one. So this one is another interview that was done. Bill O'Reilly again, but this is now specifically talking about... He has a book that he did explaining who Trump was and all of his years, his insights. Make us get to know who Trump really is. But this interview, again, the link for this interview is in the description. I strongly ask you to really watch these videos. Click on the links in the description. Sit back and get to know who they say your enemy is. Once you really get a grasp of who Donald Trump is, you would realize that he is not our enemy. He's actually the best gift wrapped in sandpaper that we needed. He was the best gift wrapped in sandpaper. So this one is all about the battle, about rattling, I should say. Getting to know Trump, the reason why he was calling Justin Trudeau Governor Trudeau, the 51st state. This is going to tell you why he was saying it. Get to know Trump. So here we go. So I'm just going to now click on things so that we can wrap up.
The whole idea that Donald Trump is uncensored, does that make him totally different than any politician you ever covered?
Sure. He's absolutely not even in the same universe as 95% of American politicians, because he doesn't think if I say this, that will happen. He goes, I'm going to say what I want and I don't give a fig. How many politicians do that? None. And that's why he won in 2016, because he got on that stage with all these other politicians. What were there, 11 of them? All right. And he's looking at him and he's going, you're boring, you're a liar. And these guys are going to go, what? They never heard any. I remember watching that debate, the first one in August.
This is the first debate on Fox
in
2015.
And my crew and I are sitting there watching it. Our mouths are like this. What? What's happening? And it captured the disenchantment of the American people about career politicians, about phonies. And he just wiped them out.
Part of the Donald Trump act is the insult comedy, right? Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Pocahontas for Elizabeth Warren. You compare him to Don Rickles.
I hurt the people.
Is that because he's branding people? Is it because he's actually being mean? What is it?
Well, I don't know if it's mean, but he certainly wants to rattle their cages, to lose a cliche. He wants to shake them. Not just his political opponents, but foreign leaders.
Justin Trudeau, right? Foreign leaders, Justin Trudeau, Governor Trudeau, governor. It's nothing new. We're just like, oh, he's so insultive. He's been doing that. That's what he's been doing that's what he's been doing with opponents that he sees as weak. He rattles them. It's part of who he is. And if you're easily rattled, you've just proved his point that you're weak. And that's what Justin showed us again. He's weak. He's weak. That was all about rattling. Let's go to this one. Let's go to this clip here, where he talks about, does someone have to lose for him to win? And he's like, no. He's going to say nice things to this person that, as long as he gets something from them. So whoever is going to give him what he wants, he speaks nice of them. Hence why he says he wants to work with MarkCarney. You don't think Donald Trump already knows about MarkCarney? MarkCarney's been in business, just like Donald Trump's been in business. Donald Trump knows who's weak, and he knows who he can respect. He knows he knows them. Carney, you think Donald Trump is going to respect a man that moved after I won, you're going to move your business from your country and bring it into mine, into my city. You're a punk. You have no respect. You have no loyalty. Donald Trump sees people for exactly who they are based on the business move that they make, because he judges you based on his standard as well. He would have never done that. Donald Trump would have never done that. And when you do that, he sees right through you. He sees you just like a Joe Biden. And that's why he says he preferred to work with a liberal than PierrePoilievre. And people thinking that, no, that wasn't that. No, he was honest. Donald Trump is honest, and he calls things out to get people on their skin, and he says nice things to people, and you're going to hear him explain this. So let me just pull this back a little bit. Here we go.
Win, does someone else have to lose?
No, absolutely not. If Donald Trump gets what he wants, you'll hear how excellent the president of Panama is. He's the greatest guy, that's what he does.
Is there something remarkable about that, right? Because very few people have the mindset that they are willing to say nice things about people, even if they don't like that person, in order to get what they want. There's some pride that prevents that Donald Trump almost doesn't have.
No, he doesn't care about that at all. As long as he wins, as long as he gets what he wants, then he'll say nice things about who's ever giving him what he wants.
This is
So again, he gonna say nice things to the people that gives him what he wants. That's why he wants to work with MarkCarney. He's been in business with Mark. He knows MarkCarney on a business level. He knows exactly. He already seen what MarkCarney was able to do. And we talk about MarkCarney going to China. And you guys know about this. You should know about this. Listen, it's in our best interest to get rid of MarkCarney before, like right now, he's enjoying this title of prime minister when he's really just the caretaker of the title. Please don't let this man get any more closer to that title than what he is right now, that he's just the caretaker of it because of when it was prorogue and now we're in election. Just have him have this on his resume, leader of the Liberal Party and prime minister from, for the couple months that he was. Just make him feel good that he could put that on his resume. Because who knows when they lose if he would still remain leader. I don't think he would. I think this is a test run, and if he loses, he's not going to stick around for 4 years. He's going to, all of a sudden, they're going to have another leadership race. There's going to be some story, because the family, the wife, the children are not going to want to put up. No, they're going to go. They're going to go. And if they go, we don't care, because they're going to have many years for them to sit and think about what you did. When you give people a timeout, that's exactly what's going to happen. So we're going to fast forward now to this part where he explains the USA Biden Kamala, and you would see how eerie similar it was and what it is to the Justin and the Carney, as I was mentioned, switch over. Again, it's a playbook. that they have been successful in south of the border, and they were very confident that it was going to be successful here as well. So let's go.
I believe things got out of hand, and he didn't act quickly enough.
How did we get from there and that moment to January 20th, 2025?
So Joe Biden was obviously a terrible president because he created the problems. He created the border. He created the massive inflation. He did it. Awful, awful, awful. Now we learned that his team deceived everybody, but the guy was doddering from the very beginning. That helped Trump.
Don't we have the same thing? The mass immigration, the destruction of our economy, that was all Justin Trudeau. He was a terrible prime minister. Terrible prime minister. I'm going to bring that back again. Terrible prime minister. And then he's going to talk about how he saw that. And this is why he can tell a leader who's weak. A leader that allows their country to be invaded, taken over, destroyed, economy weakened, is no leader that he respects. And that's why he had no respect for Justin Trudeau, and that's why he has none for MarkCarney.
How did we get from there and that moment to January 20th, 2025?
So Joe Biden was obviously a terrible president because he created the problems. He created the border. He created the massive inflation. He did it. Awful, awful, awful. Now we learned that his team deceived everybody, but the guy was doddering from the very beginning. That helped Trump dramatically. When Trump waxed him on the debate in last June, it was a shock. Then they replaced Biden with an extremely weak candidate with no frame of reference, Kamala Harris.
I accept your nomination.
Now, can you imagine me interviewing Kamala Harris about complicated issues? It would be a massacre. She doesn't know. She's a machine politician, which is why every question you ask her, she goes, well, I'm from a middle-class home.
I grew up in a middle-class household.
Hey, lady, we got it, okay?
So you're setting up right now that Donald Trump won
because his opposition was weak.
And Donald Trump will win. He will continue to win because he knows exactly who's weak and he knows who is strong. He respects those who are strong. He has no respect for those who are weak. The same thing that they did with Kamala is the same thing that they did with Carney. Justin Trudeau and Biden are both the same in the destruction of their own countries and what they did and what they allowed and the inflation that they allowed to happen. The difference is Trump is not attacking us. He's attacking the weakness in our government that he also has, I personally think, he has no use for. Hence why he told them you'll be the 51st state, because what are you here? Like, what are you here to do? We're the one doing everything. Trump is just a very direct person. As soon as we can stand on our own 2 feet, Trump will be like, okay, you got this. We're good. We can do business together because we're both strong. But there's no need to do business with someone that is weak. He doesn't respect weak. He respects strength. And that is what Pierre is trying to explain to us. It's imperative that we regain our strength, and then we can partner respectfully with another strong country. They say real recognize real. Donald Trump only wants to be doing business with someone that is strong. He doesn't do business with people who's weak. He just buys you over. He takes you out. It's like a business. You know, they talk about those sharks, right? They just take over your business because it's just like you're no competition. You're weak. He respects strength. So we're gonna wrap it up with this last 2 clips in regards to why Donald Trump is who he is. And it says here it's because, like PierrePoilievre, who has sacrificed his life from a young man to be a politician and serve our country, is no different than a young man who goes into the military and serves his country in that format. That format is more gruesome, it's more sacrificial because it's your life and it's still serving your country. Pierre decided to use his gifts and his talents to serve our country politically, just like your son or your daughter will decide to risk their life and invest their life into the military to serve their country. Every one of us who is a mother or father, we all love the fact that our children find something that they're passionate about and they stay in it. Which one of you will say to your doctor, "Oh, I don't want you to operate on me. You're a career physician. You've been doing it for 20, 30 years? Ugh." How many of you will scoff at a military person? "Oh, I don't want you to be my sergeant. I don't want you to be my commander. Ugh, you're a career military person. You've been in it for 20-something years." Come on now. Since when is that bad? It's only bad when you're in something for all this time and you're terrible at it and you've been wrong and you've been a liability to the profession. PierrePoilievre has been very consistent. Everything that he's been saying since he started has come to pass, and he's not wavered. How many of you will want to invest in a business that's just, "Oh, you know what? Oh, you've been 20, 30 years in the industry? Oh, I don't want to invest." No. So this idea that Poilievre it's negative because he's been a quote unquote career politician. Notice what he said about career politicians who are lousy. Those are the ones we need to say it's time for you to go, because you are of no use, because you're not serving the country, you're serving yourself. It's just like if you're in the military and you've been in it for 20 years and you're a liability, it's time for you to go. They will just say bye-bye to you. That's what it is, okay? Trump, he loves his country. So here he goes in explaining that about this man.
Event.
Greatest political comeback in American history.
Never before has a president overcome more obstacles than Donald Trump. And some of those obstacles were self-imposed, but never before has a man overcome as much as Trump has overcome.
Coming up, Trump doesn't just think highly of himself, he feels the same way about the country.
We are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue.
Where does America first come from? Trump the Patriot next.
The man loves his country. I can't wrong him for that. He's not a monster for that. He's not evil for that. He's not my enemy for that. We want someone who is Canada first. And that is PierrePoilievre. Before it was axe a carbon tax because that was just destructive and nobody cared that it was. And all of a sudden now they care that it is. We need someone that is putting Canada first. And everything that PierrePoilievre has been saying is about putting Canada first. We want someone who loves Canada just as much as Trump loves. We want someone that loves Canada just as much as Trump loves America. And there's nothing wrong when you find a leader who is truly loyal to their country. That person should not be seen as a bad guy, should not be seen as an enemy, and we should not be calling our own patriot, "He's been in it too long." No, it's time for Poilievre to step up. He's done the do. He's worked his way up, just like we would state to any young person who started off at an entry level and worked their way up in a company, and they have learned every stage of the company. They're in the best position to lead because they started off in the mailroom and they worked their way up. They know the company. They know all the departments. They know what's functioning, what's not functioning, what's going to work, what's not going to work. PierrePoilievre deserves this opportunity. MarkCarney coming in after not being a part of us for so long, taking your business out of us for so long, evading our taxes that we've been paying. You don't get the reward of parachuting your way in, just like Doug Ford and everybody parachutes people in. No parachuting, leader. Okay? Now, the difference between this Donald Trump and the Donald Trump that started off at the beginning, he would tell you that when Donald Trump started, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know who his friends were, who his allies were. But this time around, he knows. He learned the hard way who to trust and who not to trust. And as a result of that, he's now smarter, he's wiser, he's stronger. And this is why he's moving the way he's moving. Donald Trump is not the enemy of Canada. Donald Trump is the enemy of the swamp, the corrupted system. He's the enemy of that.
As Trump would say, huge. Okay, so when he was elected in 16 and took over in 17, he didn't know what he was doing. And he'll tell you that. He comes out of New York City real estate world where he knows everybody and he gets what he wants, into Washington, D.C., where everybody hates him, and he's not getting what he wants, even from his own team. And he's not quite sure about who's good and who's bad. So the first year was chaos.
Do you believe that?
Now, 8 years later, he knows. And when I was in the meeting with him in early January,
Trump knows who his enemies are. He knows exactly what needs to be done. And as a result of that, he's doing that. Now, if you want to call that being an enemy, you can call that being an enemy all you want. The man is doing the mandate that the people... Donald Trump is not the enemy. Donald Trump is doing what needs to be done. If you want to call someone who is loyal to his country an enemy, that's on you. Donald Trump is doing what he was mandated to do. When the people, the American citizens, woke up and realized who their enemy were, the enemy from within, everybody forgot about rank and file and they vote America first. It's in our best interest, north of the border, to also do the same. It's imperative that we step back, rank and file, forget about party affiliation, and see who our enemies are within, and we vote accordingly. For me, I see PierrePoilievre as the person who has been loyal to us from day one. He has not wavered in his loyalty to us. He has kept his promise. And as a result of that, everything that he has been saying is what the liberals are now doing in the midnight hour. So let's continue and have what Pierre is going to be putting out continue to roll out with Pierre at the head. This is Lady O. Stay in action, faith, and possibility. Walk in and protect your light. Your purpose will find you. Say what you mean and live like you mean what you say. Please click on all the links to get to know who they say your enemy is, and you'll realize that it's not that. Have a good rest of your day.